Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Moonman Podcast's special Halloween episode. In tonight's spooky episode, we'll be covering our personal stories surrounding the paranormal, as well as some personal accounts of friends and family. I'm taking this moment to give a content warning for tonight's episode. As we've mentioned in the past on this show, talking, thinking, or surrounding yourself with the paranormal attracts it into your life. In this episode, we cover shadow people, sleep paralysis stories, demonic encounters, ghost sightings, strange noises, and close encounters of every kind. We will also be talking about themes and ideas that may cause fear, duress, and/or panic. Proceed with caution from here on out, and use your own discretion. So, I have an update.
About what?
Okay, well, this is an update for you, and this is also an update for the audience.
Hold on. This sounds super scripted.
No. Okay, it's not scripted. So
It felt scripted.
Well, no. All right, whatever. So I have an update. Remember 2 episodes back in the creature feature episode, how I was kind of talking about like some weird stuff that I was seeing at my house when we were talking about the paranormal shit?
No.
Me and my sister were talking about some paranormal shit, and we saw that piece of furniture moving and making sounds or whatever, right? And then I was saying how
Was it with the doorbell?
No, that's the second incident. So that was the first one. We heard the doorbell. There was nobody there, nobody on the cameras. Doorbell just rang. I opened the door. They say I let in a demon. Right?
Are you sure we said it on the podcast?
Yeah,
positive. I feel like we did it. You told me off podcast.
I'm pretty sure I might have, but we said it on the podcast. And then on the episode, I was talking about how we saw this piece of furniture moving and it was like making sounds or whatever, right? Well, there's been an update. So I think I'm being haunted, which actually works perfect for this episode. But like 3 or 4 nights ago, I was going to bed. Middle of the night. My schedule's all fucked up right now. I was laying down in bed, completely alone in the room. No animals, no nothing, right? I'm laying down in bed and I'm in that special place where like I'm about to fall asleep. You know, my brain's getting all tingly or whatever, right? And then right as I'm about to fall asleep, I hear a loud boom. And I immediately shoot up. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? Because it didn't come from outside. It didn't come from like above me on the second floor. It didn't come from anything like that, right? It came from inside my room. There was a loud bang inside my room. And so I immediately like looked towards my window, nothing at the fucking window, right? Because I had the blinds open. And I start looking around the room and my heart is pounding. So I get up and I walk to the living room and my mom and my sister are still up. They're talking. In the living room. So I walk over to the living room. I'm like, hey, did you guys hear that? And they're all, hear what? I was like, there's a loud as boom right now. And they're like, no, what are you talking about? And so then I turn around and I walk back to my room and my sister follows me. And as soon as I walk into the room, I flick on the lights and then she's looking around and she saw your box fell. I was like, what box? And I looked to the floor and I had this big ass box on top of like my dresser, right where my TV is. And it just fell over. And it had, I don't know what it had inside, but it had some object inside, and that's what caused the like boom. But like I said, there was no animals in my room. I was completely alone. I was on the verge of sleep. My door's locked. I was all by myself. And then this fucking box just fell over. The fucked up part about that was earlier that night, in preparation for all of our spooky episodes, I was going over some topics with my family. And as I was falling asleep, I was trying not to think about like shadow people and sleep paralysis, but it kept jumping into the back of my mind. So as I'm thinking about all this fucked up shit, I hear a loud ass boom in the room by myself.
Welcome back to the Moonman Podcast. That was a long ass intro. And first of all, you're already spooking me out.
Dude, it freaked me out. Like, I know we were giving our little content warnings a couple episodes back or whatever, right? About attracting these things into your life. But like I told you before, I've been seeing this kind of shit my whole life. And it doesn't help that I've been into the macabre my whole life.
Because... Calm down, Zach Bagans.
Who's that?
You know who Zach Bagans is?
No.
Yes, you do.
Who's Zach Bagans?
Have you seen Ghost Adventures?
Yeah.
Zach Bagans.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I've been into the macabre my whole life, so it doesn't help that I've probably been continuing to attract spirits, right? So, anyways, I'm laying down in bed, completely alone in a dark room. Fucking box falls over, and I'm the only one that hears it. My sister walks in and notices the box that fell over. Freaked me the fuck out. That was like 3 or 4 nights ago.
And let me guess, you just fell back asleep.
Yeah, I just went to sleep. Well, like, what am I gonna do? Like, sit up all night and go, like, ghosts? Like, don't do that. No, I was like, fuck. I was shaking, but I had to go to sleep, so I went to sleep. And in the back of my mind, I just kept thinking about all kinds of random shit, thinking about the gym, thinking about life, the podcast, whatever, right? I was just thinking about whatever to distract myself and not get back into those subjects, because when you start thinking about it, you retract it.
Yeah, I that's why ever since you mentioned that about the attracting, I just been thinking about butterflies.
I'm gonna
and
try
unicorns.
I'm gonna try that. Butterflies
and boobies.
And boobies. I'll try that. I'll try thinking about butterflies and unicorns to help calm everything down. But that was like 3 or 4 nights ago, and nothing's happened since, and I haven't had any sleepless nights. But I have been having weird dreams lately.
Like what? Wait, hold on. So have I. It's weird.
Well, what were your dreams?
Well, mine were like last month, and one of the dreams I had were like 2 or 3 dogs. I don't own dogs.
Yeah.
But no, I don't.
No, I know you don't.
So what'd you say? Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. I've known you for like 7, 8 years at this point.
I did have a dog. That's a different story though. So there was 3 dogs. I was sitting on the ground in my room, and 3 dogs came from the hallway into my room and just started cuddling with me. And once they were cuddling with me, I started crying.
What the fuck?
In my dream, and when I woke up, I felt like I was still crying.
Like you felt like tears on your chest?
Yeah, no. Like, you know that feeling you get like when you want to cry, but you're just holding it in?
Oh,
I had that feeling when I woke up.
That's weird.
But I forgot why I was crying. I remember something happened in the dream, but I just can't remember what it was.
That's weird. I don't even know how to explain that, because I like to dissect dreams.
Because I Googled it, but it just says something about loyalty and too much positive shit, and
that's weird. Why would it be positive shit if you're dreaming about like these 3 wild dogs?
No, I never said they were wild.
Okay, what kind of dogs?
They were just like normal pet dogs, like this domesticated dogs.
That's still kind of weird.
I don't know.
It's mysterious.
Mysterious.
Welcome back to the Moon Men Podcast. Everybody.
Wait, why I raised the intro?
This is the official intro, and I want to welcome you guys.
Why can't I say the intro?
Okay, say it.
I just did like 3 minutes ago.
I want to welcome you all to the official Halloween episode. And I'm glad you guys are here with us, and I'm glad you're enjoying it today. If you didn't hear the content warning at the beginning of the episode, this is a little disclaimer and or reminder that this episode is going to feature heavy themes of dark subjects. And like we've mentioned previously, it could potentially attract evil and or darkness into your life. So continue with caution. Now on to the dreams. So we discussed previously on the show how I don't dream, right? I believe we have.
I'm pretty sure we have.
So it's weird for me to be getting dreams, and for the last like 4 or 5 nights I've been getting dreams. Now I can barely remember any of them, but I know I've been dreaming because like I wake up. I think I told you about one of them, that weird one, right? But I wake up and like I can remember the dream, and I've remembered that I've dreamed, but I can't remember the exact contents of the dream. I know one, I was like in a haunted town with somebody, and we were like
going... Oh yeah, and I remember something about zombies and...
Yeah, we were like fighting zombies
and
or
clowns.
Something. That one was kind of tame. But the dream I had last night was like a little weird. Like I woke up in this like black box, and I was like trapped, and there was like something trying to stab me or something like that. It was kind of weird, and it reminded me of this nightmare I had as a child. The different one, not the spider one, a different one. I think I told you this previously, but I had a nightmare as a child where I was
Wait, hold on. Finish one dream and then go into.
Well, that was the dream. All I remember.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, no. All I remember was being trapped in a black box and having like something trying to attack me.
Bro, that just means you're feeling trapped. No, fuck that. Fuck this spooky episode. We're gonna have an intervention right now.
To me, it was like a sign that like I was kidnapped or something.
No, it was a sign that you just feel trapped.
Well, no, it wasn't like, you know, a big spacious like jail box. It was like a box.
Yeah, that means you're fucking trapped.
I don't know. Maybe. I haven't looked it up. But it reminded me of a dream that I had when I was a kid, a nightmare. And it's not the spider one. In this nightmare, so I was at my grandmother's house. I had fallen asleep on the couch. And it was a period of my life where me and my family were living with my grandmother. We didn't have our own house. We didn't have our own place. So I got very used to just sleeping wherever at my nana's house, right? On this particular night, I don't know where the rest of my family was. I had fallen asleep on the couch. And I was only like 4 or 5 at the time. And when I woke up in the dream, I was in my grandmother's bathroom. I was in her bathtub specifically.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, in the dream, I woke up in her bathtub and in her bathroom, right? And I'm like looking around, and then the dream starts to expand, and I'm able to like see more of the dream. So when I woke up, all I could see was her bathtub and me in it, and I was seeing it from a third person perspective. Like I was watching it from somebody else's eyes. So then it started to expand, and I could see that the bathroom was completely disconnected from the house. In fact, it was like floating in some dark space like void. So I was in this bathroom, in the bathtub, and I was actually naked in the bathtub. And I'm watching this from a third person perspective, right? And I can see this like disconnected part of the house floating in this giant space like void. And then out of nowhere, from behind me, 2 tall giant aliens, which I didn't know what aliens were at the time. But these 2 tall gray aliens came up behind me and started to dissect me. And their hands were huge. Their hands were as big as my entire body, right? And so they were using these super long, sharp, like knives and scissors, and they were cutting me open and pulling me apart and dissecting me, essentially. And they were tall, and they were just floating in space. I couldn't see their entire bodies. I could just see their torsos, their heads, and their hands. And their hands were experimenting on me. And they were like pulling out my guts or whatever, and they're like, and I in the dream I can remember feeling the pain, but I'm watching all of it from a third person perspective. Now I don't know how long it went on. I don't know how long the dream lasted, but when I woke up, I actually woke up in my grandmother's bathroom. Now I don't think I woke up in the bathtub itself, and I definitely had all my clothes on or whatever, right? And I'm not trying to say that I've been abducted by aliens or anything. I just thought it was extremely weird.
You got abducted by aliens.
I don't think I did.
You stop trying to dance around it. You got abducted.
No, I honestly don't believe I was abducted by aliens.
But everything you've been saying is you being abducted by aliens. It sounds like you were abducted by aliens.
Well, personally, I don't think I was abducted by aliens, but I had this dream on the couch, and I woke up in the bathroom after having this dream about being dissected. Right?
Maybe it was one of those carry-on dreams that happen in real life. Like, I don't know if you ever had that, but like sometimes my mom would tell me something when I'm half asleep, and I continue on from that. Like, my mom would be like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to the store," and I'll answer, but then I'll close my eyes again, and then that'll happen in my dream, and then my mom would be like, "I'm going to the store," and then boom, Optimus Prime crashes through the fucking roof.
No, it wasn't anything like, well, I don't think it was anything like that. I don't think I was dreaming of my abduction. Maybe I don't fucking know.
No, but what I'm trying to say, maybe you went to the bathroom and then you just fucking.
Well, that see, to me, I used to sleepwalk a lot, right? So I would fall asleep in my room, wake up under the table. I'd fall asleep in my room, wake up in the living room. So to me, it was just like an early encounter with like sleepwalking, one that I just happened to remember, because all the rest of them were told to me secondhand because I don't remember any of them. So I don't necessarily believe I was abducted and experimented on, but at the same time, it kind of does make a little bit of sense.
Why couldn't you tell this dream during the aliens episode.
Honestly, I completely forgot about it during the episode. To me, it falls more under like spooky experiences rather than like an actual alien experience, because I can't prove that I was actually abducted. I don't have any like distinctive scars that I've like grown up with, you know. Any altercations that they did to my body are almost untraceable, so I have no fucking idea. There's no way to prove it. So to me, it doesn't fall under like I was abducted and here's my story. You know, it's just like
spooky. But you're not claiming that. I'm claiming that. That's the difference.
That's kind of makes it creepier that you're claiming it, because you're like putting pieces together that I never thought to put together. You're solving my mystery for me, which is kind of crazy. It's like when someone's just telling you weird things that happen at their house, and you're like, dude, you're being haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. I wasn't, because at the time I didn't know what aliens were. I wasn't really into like the spooky stuff just yet. I was only like 4 or 5. You know, it was before my mom got divorced, and so it was before I started experimenting with anything spooky like that. And in fact, I hated scary stuff. So I don't know why or how I was dreaming of these aliens. It's not like I was watching scary movies. My family wouldn't even let me watch it. Anything over PG-13, they said no. So I don't know how I conjured up these aliens, which makes it worse. But at the same time, it stuck with me my entire life.
Because you saw that Scooby-Doo alien special.
No, I didn't see that until I was like 9.
Oh. That, when you were telling your dream, that reminded me of another dream that I had. I can only remember the end part of the dream, but I remember I walked out of my room. So the way my house is laid out, so it's my room, and to the left are 2 other rooms, which is a spare bedroom.
It's a hallway.
It's a hallway.
Yeah.
It leads into a spare bedroom and then into my mom's room. So in my dream, I go out, walk into the hallway, and I don't know why, but I opened my mom's room, and I remember there being a woman there. And she was just laying on my mom's bed, so I just closed the door and I was walking away. And I thought to myself, oh, I could be floating right now. And then I started fucking floating.
Maybe it was like a lucid dream.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then as I was floating, I felt myself going too high, so I started fucking panicking. And then I heard a little girl's voice.
What the fuck?
I forgot what it said.
Like Samantha, like from Zombies. What? Like a little girl's like laugh, or like a voice, or like
no, like if there's someone having a conversation, that's what I heard.
Really?
Yeah, and I was getting too scared, so I'm like, I'm going back down. And when I said that, I woke up, and I was like, not hyperventilating, but I was breathing pretty hard.
You know, I was talking to a friend of ours, and he gave me permission to say his name. So I was talking to Alfred recently, and he was telling me about some lucid dream experiences he had, right? And he had one, I believe it was fairly recently, that kind of stuck out to me. Because he got a message inside the lucid dream, right?
What the fuck?
So he doesn't know how to activate it, but he's had 2 lucid dreams in his lifetime, right? I can barely recall the first one. I was like half asleep when he told me. But sorry, Alfred.
He's gonna be funny. He's gonna be like, you little bitch.
Yeah, I know. He's gonna be really mad. But in the second one, there is this key moment where he was speaking to somebody, and he got a message in his dream. And it was just really, really weird, right?
Do you remember the message?
Yeah. I remember the message. That's what I'm
Would you like to get to it?
Yes. So, at some point in the dream, he got this message, and somebody told him, don't touch the blue sapphire. They said, whatever you do, do not touch the blue sapphire.
First of all, what's sapphire?
It's a type of gemstone.
Oh.
And I forgot if like the person turned to them, but like he was lucid dreaming. He was aware that he was dreaming, right? And he tried, the thing that was weird was that every time he lucid dreams, he wakes up in this exact same space. He wakes up in this like, he described it, but it's a little foggy. He wakes up in this like room, and there's a door. And immediately he sees the door, and he's like, I want to go through the door. Every time he goes to open the door, he wakes up. Like every time he's trying to get through this door, the dream pulls him out, right? And at one point, he said that there was a person there, and they told him, do not touch the blue sapphire. And when he woke up, he just kept remembering. He's like, blue sapphire? What blue sapphire? He's like, I haven't seen a blue sapphire. And I was like, have you ever even seen it? He's like, no, I've never seen a blue sapphire in my
I bet
life.
he's like, what the fuck is a blue sapphire?
Yeah.
That should have been his first question. What the fuck is a blue sapphire?
Well, no, I'm sure he knew what it was, but like, it's kind of like that moment from Peaky Blinders where she gets that cursed like necklace. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that. And to me, like when he was saying it, it kind of weirded me out for some reason, right? And I told him, I was like, what if your dream was like a message like meant for me or meant for somebody else, right?
And then he's like, no, the fuck it's not.
No, he's all, well, maybe it is. He's all, don't touch any blue sapphires. And I was like, well, I've never even seen a blue sapphire. He's like, yeah, me neither. But like, I thought that was kind of weird because I've had one like hallucinatory experience where I was meditating and then I spoke to this ancient deity. Did I ever tell you about this?
No, but it sounds like cap already.
It sounds like a bunch of bullshit. I'm well aware of that. But it was so bizarre. The girl I was dating at the time, I messaged her about it. And she was very spiritual, so she kind of like told me about it. But her explanation.
Wait, how long ago did this happen?
Like 4 months ago.
Oh, okay.
And it was really weird because I was meditating and I had never experienced anything meditating. Right? You feel these like body hallucinations, like you kind of feel weird. But I've never like seen anything. I've never spoken to anybody. Right? In this meditation state, I just went deep into it, and I felt myself walking down this like dark void. At one point, I was like at a river and I like crossed the river. At one point, I could feel myself sinking into like this deep black pit. Like I felt like something grabbed my feet as I was walking and it was pulling me down. And I really had to like focus to like bring myself back up because as I was walking, like I felt as I was sinking down that I was losing myself a little bit, like almost as if I was dying. And eventually, on this little journey or whatever the fuck it was, I get to this dark, huge cave, right? It's completely filled with water. There is a solid rock formation, like island, in the middle of this cave.
Hold on, before you continue, I don't know why, but the entire time you're talking, I keep thinking about that plane from Black Panther.
What plane?
The ancestral plane.
Oh, it wasn't.
I don't know why, but the entire time you're talking, it doesn't look anything like that. But that's what I've been picturing.
Well, to an extent, that might have been what it was. But to me, as I was walking, it was kind of like walking, in Minecraft, right? Like, and imagine everything being black. I know it's a weird comparison.
Everything being black and square. I mean, cube.
No, not cubed. It's just in the sense like when you're walking in Minecraft, it feels like you're moving. You're standing still, but like you're moving at the same time. Mm-hmm. That's what it felt like. I was standing still. I was walking, but it felt like I wasn't moving. And yet things were moving around me. But because of the dark void, I couldn't see anything. It was just little highlights. Like I'd be able to see water underneath me, but I couldn't see anything else. So when I eventually made it to this big black cave, this dark cave, I was able to see the cave, kind of, but I wasn't able to make it out. I couldn't draw it for you. And in this cave, it's completely filled with water. I couldn't enter it, but I was standing on the outskirts of the cave. Like I was inside of it, but I couldn't enter, you know what I mean? And in this water, I could see this huge like serpent swimming around, round and around and around. And I started talking to the serpent. And I actually wrote down the entire conversation, but I don't remember it word for word. But essentially, I started talking to the serpent, and it sticks his head up, right? And it was like a blue, grayish like serpent, and it starts speaking to me, except it never spoke. It was like speaking into my head. So it was weird. I'm in this meditative state, speaking
in tongues then.
Kind of. It was speaking in tongues, but I was able to understand it. And he was being very cryptic. This guy was an asshole. But he was like an ancient deity. Like I could tell that immediately. Like this guy was beyond my level of comprehension. And when he stuck his head up out of the water, his entire face was a bright white light. Like it was like a flashlight beam, right? I couldn't see his face. It was just big, bright white. Big, bright white light.
Bright white light. Okay.
Big, bright white light. And he started speaking to me. And the only thing I can recall from the conversation was him saying, "You're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. You have to wait 1 year. 1 year from now, you'll be ready. You're not ready yet." And then I kept asking him, "Not ready for what? Not ready for what? Show me." He's like, "You're not ready to see," or something like that. And then soon after that, it felt like I got Doctor Strange teleported back into my body. It felt like I was sucked backwards into my body and like thrown into it. And it was fucking weird. Like I was in this like weird state, right? And then, boom, thrown back into my body. And I was shaking. My heart was pounding. I immediately texted the girl and I just started writing everything down to her. And then I copied that into my notebook and then I wrote extra details.
What did she say?
She told me...
Wait, you wrote extra details that didn't happen?
No. I wrote extra details that I could remember, like writing it down, because now that I had like a template, I was able to like try and remember. And I wrote all of it down as best as I could, but I can't recall it here.
Oh, okay.
It's weird. Like, I can only remember what the serpent barely looks like, and you're not ready yet. You have to wait 1 year.
So... Did I just ask what the girl said?
Yeah, she said it was some sort of spiritual awakening.
Okay.
And it was something with my chakras aligning. But as I did more research into that, it wasn't that per se. It was something else entirely. And it felt like something else entirely. It felt like well, this is going to sound completely out there, but it felt like I entered another realm or I saw something different. And I was able to speak to this creature. Kind of like Carl Jung type of hallucination.
Who?
He was a philosopher from back in the day.
Oh. When he told you you're not ready, what did you think? Like, what do you think he was talking about?
I don't even know. At the time, I remember thinking something along the lines of like, I was meant to see something or I'm going to experience something, but I wasn't quite ready yet. And I somehow prematurely ended up in that space, in that plane of existence. And he was like, what the hell are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here yet. And then he kind of kicked me out. Like, he talked to me for a little bit.
So you think you're gonna die within a year?
I don't think I'm gonna die within a year, but I think something's gonna happen within a year, which is really creepy because I completely forget about this, and then sometimes like I'll remember when I'm going to sleep, and then I get scared that I'm gonna go to sleep and wake up there and see him, and then he's gonna show me something that I'm not ready for.
Do you think that it has to do with your book?
Perhaps, yeah. Part of me thought that
because I when he said you're not ready, I thought about that you've been submitting your book to different agencies and all that.
Yeah.
But maybe you're not ready to get signed.
I don't know what it pertains to specifically.
But it could also be with love.
I don't know. It could be like I went through the whole list. I thought it was something spiritual. I thought it was something otherworldly, like dimensionally. I thought it was something practical, like everyday stuff. I don't know what it could be, and I haven't been able to tap into it.
You know what he was talking about? He was probably talking about the final battle.
Probably. He was probably mentioning. He was like, "The final battle's coming. You need to prepare."
And you're not ready.
But Alfred, the same guy with the dream from before, he actually enlisted into the army. He's been ranked up to general. He's going to help us plan all our battles. And he actually came up with a new line of defense for the kangaroos.
Which is?
So instead of having them wear boxing gloves, we're going to have them wear brass knuckles with spikes on the end. And then we're going to tape katanas to the bottom of their feet. So that when they grab onto somebody to attack them, their swords are actually digging into the person's...
I agree with the brass knuckles, but not the swords.
I want to see the swords.
Because one fuck up, they're going to get stuck in the sand and they're going to flip over.
That's true. We should get them like the James Bond kind of like boot swords where they tap their feet.
Yeah, that could probably work.
Anyway.
Or just put guns or grenades in the little pouches that they keep the babies in.
Fuck that. They're going to accidentally blow themselves up.
And the baby's going to be eating all the grenades.
Oh, that's actually a good idea.
Alfred's going to be like, that's fucking stupid.
You're going to have to run it through our general first.
I'm not part of the team.
Well, anyways, I really sat and debated with what this deity showed me. And it stuck with me and it freaked me out. But the weird thing is, the more I try to remember, the more you forget, huh? Yeah, the more I try to remember, the less I can. And so that's essentially why I wrote it all down, because I want to like document that was real and it wasn't some sort of fever dream. Because it was the middle of the day. I deliberately chose to sat down and meditate for whatever reason. And then I saw this thing. And then since then, every time I have meditated, I've never been able to get to that place where I was before, and I've never seen anything else.
A deity is a god, right?
Yeah.
I know you don't want me to bring up Marvel, but Moon Knight deals with all the Egyptian gods and everything. And the way you're describing that specific one, it reminds me of one that came out on that show.
Which was?
I forgot its name, and I forgot what the god power is. I'll probably show you after the podcast.
This is a revelation here for real. Like I really do want to do more research on it. And I don't really talk about it because I've told a few people and I always get like weird stares and people don't really seem to believe me, which is fine. I don't need them to. I don't need you to. It's just I'm trying to talk about it to get some sort of like exposure and like understand what it is that's happening. Because to me, dreams really speak to the human existence and what we experience as people, right? Like, I think we've covered before, scientists don't really know what dreams are. They don't know where they come from. We barely understand them. And to me, there's like a lot of symbolism and meaning there. You know, not every single dream you have is going to have some deep hidden meaning, but a lot of them do. Like your dog dream probably has some sort of hidden meaning. But I don't fucking know what it could be.
That's coming from a guy who doesn't dream. You don't dream.
And this wasn't necessarily a dream. It was more of like a hallucination, but it almost felt like a dream because it was almost like a lucid dream, except I wasn't asleep. Like I could feel my body the entire time, my physical body. I could feel it the entire time. It was just a weird experience. Like a dream, like a crazy dream is again from our friend Alfred.
Hold on. You said you were meditating. Have you tried again to meditate?
Yeah, I've tried several times since then, and
nothing.
Nothing to that same result. It's just all the normal stuff I experienced before. I never once got close to whatever let's just say it was a different plane of existence, right? I never got remotely close to that other plane of existence. I never saw anything. I never heard anything. That was the first and only time it's ever happened. It's just weird to me, right? And dreams and hallucinations, or even like acid highs and things where you can see different things. To me, it's speaking to something else, right? I heard a theory from a friend of mine that like sleep paralysis is kind of a way of tapping into another plane of existence because you're in a state where your body is asleep and your mind is half asleep and yet half awake, and so you start hallucinating things, right? You're paralyzed and you're able to see things that are probably there all the time. We're just not able to tap into that kind of aura or whatever it is. But like I was saying, to me, dreams really speak to like the human existence and what we experience and things that we're probably not able to experience on a day-to-day basis with our level of consciousness, right?
So before you get into Alfred's dream, I remember I had like a dream slash sleep paralysis. So it was like probably like 7 years ago. I was sleeping in the room I am now, but it was set up a different way. In that dream, I was in my room, but it was bright and it was white.
Were you asleep at night or was this?
It was in the day.
Oh, okay.
And it was like bright and white. Like you could make out shapes, but you just couldn't tell what kind of furniture it was. Just shapes. And the only thing I tried like sitting up, and I couldn't. The only thing I could move were my fingers. That's why I say it was kind of sleep paralysis. And I remember I was moving my fingers, and a man was walking next to me. He
like in circles, like he was pacing.
No. Like I guess he noticed that I was awake, and he walked over to me. I felt him staring down at me. Sat next to me, put his hand on my back, and instead of it being like freaked out, being scared, I felt more peace and more warmth.
That's weird.
And he stayed. What if for me it felt like probably forever, but after a certain amount of time, I just woke up and I didn't feel scared. When I woke up, I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel nothing negative. It was more peace.
That's kind of weird because to me, as you were saying that, I was picturing you entering somebody else's body in a dream state. like maybe somebody in a hospital per se, right?
No, but I was sleeping on my stomach.
Wait, what? So you were sleeping on your stomach and then your hands were twitching?
No. So in my dream, I was sleeping on my stomach, and in real life, I was sleeping on my stomach.
Yeah.
And like I was trying to like push up to get up from the bed, and I couldn't. So the only thing I could move was my right hand.
That's like the worst position to get sleep paralysis in because you're completely exposed.
Yeah. No, I'd rather be sleeping on my stomach than sleeping on my back.
They're both bad, but I wouldn't want to like experience sleep paralysis and have like a shadow person come into the room with my back turned to them.
True.
But that like okay, so as you were saying that, like I pictured you entering somebody else's body or seeing somebody else's perspective, right? Somebody who's probably in a similar situation and then interacting with the real life person in your dream. Cuz some people believe that when you're dreaming, you're in another plane of existence and you're able to leave your body. And some people believe that's what sleep paralysis is to an extent. It's like you were leaving your body and then you got trapped somehow, right? You were like mid phase or mid transfer and then you got trapped. So to me, as you were saying that, like I pictured you entering somebody else's body, maybe somebody in a like hospital room, maybe somebody.
No, but the thing it was my room.
Well, yeah, it's your room, you know, to I'm not saying that you actually did, but like maybe you entered that person's body. Maybe somebody who lived there previously. You know, I don't know. Maybe you tapped into like an old memory or something. You're able to see shadows of the past. But that's kind of weird.
But again, it wasn't shadow. Like I know what you mean. Shadow, black, all black.
Yeah.
This person was all white.
What the fuck? You had like a good sleep paralysis.
Yeah, and that was the last time I had sleep paralysis, or if you could count it down.
I would consider that sleep paralysis.
But to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever gotten sleep paralysis.
I have twice. But before I get into that, I want to tell Alfred's dream real quick because this one is pretty fucked up. I'm not even gonna lie. He has a sleep paralysis story, but I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. So this dream was just a regular dream, right? He was sleeping with his mom, and he was very very young. This was he was like maybe 3 or 4 at the time. I don't exactly know, but he said that he was asleep, and he woke up in his dream, and he was in the room. Now he can move and everything, right? It wasn't sleep paralysis necessarily, but he was just laying down. And when he woke up, he saw his mom floating above the bed and slowly floating towards the ceiling.
What the heck?
And he was just staring at her, and he was freaked out. Like he wasn't.
So wait. He was 3 or 4 when he had this dream.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he told me that he woke up and he could like move in his dream or whatever, but he was so paralyzed by fear that he didn't. And he just watched as his mom slowly started to float up off of the bed higher and higher and higher, going towards the roof. And if you've seen Supernatural, if you remember the opening scene,
I haven't.
Well, I've only seen like a couple episodes, but there's a scene where one of the characters enters a room and another character is in the ceiling, on top of the ceiling, kind of like they're possessed, and the entire ceiling was on fire. And he said that he saw his mom slowly floating towards the ceiling, and the entire ceiling was on fire. And he just stared up at her as she slowly floated towards the ceiling. And he just, it freaked him out. And then he ended up watching the show like 10-15 years later, and he said that it really disturbed him to see what he saw as a kid in his dream on the show, because it means that it's probably happening to some other people and there's probably some deeper meaning behind it, which is pretty fucked if you think about it. Like if this is a reoccurring pattern, or this like it's like hinting towards something deeper, like a possession or like a haunting or something, it's really fucked up. And he said that he had ghosts at his house where he would see like children running around and like family members walking around and shit.
What the hell?
Thank God I never spent the night at his house.
I could barely remember that his house lit up.
That's good for you, because if you remembered when you hear a sleep paralysis story, it would make it worse. So my sleep paralysis story is very tame by sleep paralysis standards. I had fallen asleep
As you should. During sleep paralysis.
Well, no, it was the middle of the day and I decided to take a nap, right? And I was in a house that wasn't mine. I was at a family friend's house, let's say. And the family friend was in the other room asleep. She was taking her nap, her daily nap. So I decided, you know what? I'm feeling sleepy. I think I'm going to rest my head. I fell asleep and almost immediately woke up. And I was like, what the fuck? Except I couldn't move, right? The whole, you wake up, but you can't move. And immediately I was like, God damn it, I'm having sleep paralysis, because I had done enough research at that point to realize what it was. Mm-hmm. So I was freaking out because I was scared of what I was going to see. Not because this was my first time. I was so freaked out about what I could potentially see. So immediately I start trying to move. I start trying to move my hands. I start trying to pick up my head, everything that I can do. And I feel that I have some sort of connection to my leg. Now I was laying on my side. I was sleeping on the couch. And immediately I start like trying to kick my leg. And then I stop because I can hear people outside. I hear two men arguing and yelling, right? And we're in this like apartment condo complex, right? So there's all these other houses next to us. And I stop and I listen and I can hear these two men yelling and screaming at somebody, but nobody's answering. And they're right outside her window. From my view, I couldn't move any part of my body. I couldn't even move my eyes really. But I could see the window and I could see two shadows walk by the window and I just hear them screaming and yelling. And all I hear is like, we're gonna fucking kill you. We're coming for you. We're gonna fucking kill you. And I'm like, what the fuck? And immediately I'm like, they're coming for me. They're gonna come get me. And so I start frantically kicking, trying desperately, using every ounce of force I can muster to kick my leg up. Desperately fighting. And then I hear gunshots. I hear a bunch of bangs go off. And then I hear something like fall to the ground. So I'm like, fuck, they're killing people. And then I hear them walk into the corridor where the front door is located. And then I can hear them banging on the door. All I hear is a boom, 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 boom. And then one of them calls out, we're fucking coming for you. We're going to kill you. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm desperately kicking my leg and I'm freaking out at this point.
How many times have you said desperately?
I want to stress my stress in this situation because I knew it was sleep paralysis, but part of me really thought that there was a threat outside. Part of me thought it was like a shooting or something, right? I was freaking out. And so I finally managed to kick my leg. I can feel it move. And right as my leg starts to rise, the door slams open. And then my leg fully extends and I wake up. And immediately I turn around and I look at the door, completely closed. It's the middle of the day. I was only asleep for about 5 minutes, right? I'm looking around, nothing's there. The part that really freaked me out though was I was using every ounce of force I could muster to kick my leg. So I was expecting to like do a full karate kick when I wake up, like full like whoosh, right? But when I woke up, it was just like a little spasm, like a little, like I barely wiggled my leg.
It's one of those dreams where, like you said, you're like almost about to sleep, and then when you are about to fall asleep, it feels like you're fucking falling. I feel it was the same for that.
Essentially, like it was really freaky to me because I know it sounds dumb, but I didn't think people could get sleep paralysis during the day, or at least I hadn't heard any stories of people getting it during the day. So once I knew that I was no longer safe during the day, it made it really hard to sleep for about the next 2 weeks. And then about a month later, I ended up getting my second one, right? And it was the exact same scenario. I fell asleep at this friend's house, middle of the day, and then I can hear people walking around, and I actually hear like dogs barking. But immediately I do the leg trick and I wake up within seconds. And now I'm always constantly terrified that I'm going to accidentally fall asleep in the middle of the day and then I'm going to wake up and see these two shadows in the room with me.
And how long ago was that?
That was only about 3 or 4 months ago. It was right around the time that I had that hallucination. Oh. So I was having all these weird experiences back to back. And then now I'm having all these weird experiences at my house, which doesn't help because it's either one kind of attack or another kind of attack. And it's been happening my whole life. Like, the first time I ever experienced anything paranormal, aside from probably that extraterrestrial dream, I experienced it with a childhood friend of mine at school.
Wait, hold on. So you've been experiencing it your entire life?
What?
This whole paranormal thing or whatever, being attacked?
Just all sorts of different experiences.
So why do you feed into it?
I can't help myself.
Yes, you can.
No, like, I legitimately can't. It's a part of my personality.
It's not.
I love this kind of stuff.
People who say that's part of my personality are the same people who say that vinyl collecting is part of their personality.
You say that.
No, I don't.
You've said that before.
You replace memories.
This is truly a part of who I am. I love this kind of stuff. And I have enough respect over the entire medium, I guess, to not directly feed into it. But, like, if I'm going to be seeing things regardless, I should at least be able to enjoy myself. And so, like this experience at school, me and a childhood friend of mine at our elementary school, we were walking around the lawn. Now, our elementary school was kind of big. Like, the building itself was really small, but we had a huge play area. We had, the kickball field. We had the, preschoolers play set. We had a basketball court with like 12 different courts. And then we had like the big kids play set. And then we had this huge field, right? It was probably like about a mile long, lengthwise. And so during recess or during lunch, me and my childhood best friend would just walk around this huge lawn. We would just talk about movies, funny stories. We'd make each other laugh. And on one day, we were just going on about like Nigga Higga and like Step Brothers and just YouTube stuff, right? And we walked to the edge of the lawn where like the gates are. Real quick, I know I'm in the middle of a story, but I'm not trying to use racial slurs or anything. The YouTuber I just mentioned, his name is Nigga Higga. That's how you pronounce it. So I'm sorry if that offends you. Anyways, we walked towards the edge of the lawn, and they had those tall, spiky poles that they put on all the schools, right?
Why? I don't know.
To keep people out and keep kids in. I don't know. But our school was right smack dab in the middle of like a neighborhood, right? So there was houses all in front of the school and all along the school. So towards the back of the school, there was another school, and it was a middle school. And there was like this huge like ditch that connected the two schools, right? And then there was these houses adjacent to the school. And we walked over to this gate, and we're staring at this dirt path that feeds in between the back of these houses and in between the school. So we're standing at this gate. We're like holding onto the gate, and we're talking to each other. And then my friend goes, "Look," and he points to one of the houses, and we can see the houses, right? They're right next to us. They're like maybe 10, 20 feet away. And there's just, their backyard and then the gate. So I look up into this house, and it's a 2-story house, and we see that the window is open. And I look at him, and I'm like, "Is the window open?" And he looks at me. He's like, "Yeah." And then we both look back up, and then right where the window was open, it's now closed. And we can see this man standing at the window. The blinds were drawn, and he's staring out of the blinds.
What did he draw?
Huh? Oh. You're ruining the suspense here. So there's this man now, and he's standing behind the blinds. The blinds were drawn, and he's staring at us. And I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but me and him both swear we saw the same thing. And
He started jerking off?
No. Nothing like that. That's a whole nother type of scary. I actually asked him about it a couple months ago when we got into contact, and he told me he remembers the incident. So we both remember this man who was standing there behind these blinds, and he was peeking through. His hand was holding the bottom half, and his other hand was holding the top half, and he was kind of like peeking it open like they do in movies, right? And he didn't have a face. I'm gonna just let that sit because it sounds stupid and it sounds like, like a Slender Man or whatever, right? But essentially, think of Slender Man maybe 5 or 6 years before Slender Man was created. And we saw this man with a face that was completely featureless. He had a nose, but he didn't have a mouth. He didn't have any eyes. He didn't have any eyebrows.
What if he was like that?
No hair, nothing. I'm not. Maybe he had some disabilities. I'm not going to deny that, but it freaked me out as a kid because I didn't know what that was. And this man was just staring at us through the window. And me and my friend were looking at him and we were just like paralyzed. We're transfixed. We're staring at this guy. And then he like lets go of the blinds and walks back into the darkness of the room. And me and my friend both stare at each other and we're just like, what the hell did we just see? So immediately we run and we go tell one of the teachers or the monitors during recess. And of course they didn't believe us because there's these two 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds running up and talking about some man without a face who's just staring at them, right? But we were, positive that we saw something. We told the monitor and then we told our teacher in class. We had the same teacher. Nobody believed us, but we know what we saw. I went home and I told my mom that night and she was kind of listening to me and she was like, well, that's a little weird. But, she didn't really feed into it, right? She was just like, well, that's weird, but don't think about it, right? But to this day, like, I can still picture, like, his face. It was, like, pale, but, like, he had a complexion to him. He was, like, tan, light-skinned white, right? And I can still see his featureless face looking down at me from that 2-story house. And my friend remembers the exact same incident. So I don't know what we saw, but we both agree that we saw something that night or that day. And it's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of hard to believe, but we both saw it. And it's freaky.
As you were explaining that story, I came to a realization for myself.
Yeah,
and for you. The word of the day in this podcast is desperately and paralyzed.
Words of the day. They are the words of the day because in any frightful situation, that's what you feel. You're paralyzed, you're transfixed, you're desperate. It's like a struggle. Like when all that stuff happens at your house, you don't immediately like react.
Yeah, I do.
Well, like, so to give a bit of context here, Eddie's house also has occurrences. Do you want to explain it?
There's one. It happened probably like 2 years ago. So I was home alone, and don't judge me, but for some reason, every day I have to pace. I have to pace back and forth from the living room to the kitchen since they're connected. I, for some reason, have to do it once a day. It has to be at least more than 20 minutes.
Why?
I don't know. It's like that routine.
It's just like a habit?
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm listening to music, sometimes I'm not. And this one day I was not listening to music. And I heard someone whistle. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. So I didn't pay no mind to it. I thought it was like one of the neighbors. And I decided to go outside, and there's no one outside. So I went inside, ignored it, went about my pacing back and forth. And I didn't tell my mom. So I go to work. My mom comes home from work, and she hears the same thing. But she heard the same thing, but she wasn't alone. She was one of my tias. And they go outside, same thing. No one was out there, but she heard it at night. So the next day goes around, and I started telling her about the whistle, and she's like, "Oh, I heard it too." And my brother went over, and he was telling us how, he asked us if we answered back to the sound, and we're like, "No, we just looked and ignored it and went about our day." And he's like, "Good, because that was demon trying to contact you guys."
How? Through a whistle?
Yeah, I don't know how.
I've never heard of a demon trying to contact people through whistling.
And I've never heard. I can't think of something smart to say.
Well, to me, the footprint story that you were telling me is a lot creepier, or even the wheelchair sounds.
The footprints, or which one?
Oh no, that wasn't you. That was your tia. When she was.
Oh, that she hears footsteps on the roof.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which is like that's kind of freaky. Like to just think of.
okay. First of all,
And she says footprints, but imagine if it's like a spirit hanging upside down on the roof, crawling like possessed.
okay.
Style.
First of all, there's stray cats, and I hear those cats, so it's most likely the cats that get on the roof.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. It was cats.
But the wheelchair, you could hear a wheelchair going up and down.
Explain it for them.
I don't want to.
Oh, can I?
No.
Am I allowed?
No.
Why not?
No, I just hear that. But I'll just tell one more ghost story because that's all I have.
Do you want to save it? I can go next.
Yeah, you can go next.
Okay. So like I've been saying, I have a lot of experiences that stretch all throughout my life. But one of the ones that stands out to me was when I was about 13. And this was in my childhood home, the home that my mom eventually bought and I grew up in. It's different from the house I'm living in now, essentially. So, in this childhood home of mine, there was a large living room that connected to the kitchen and led down a long hallway, right? So, this was the middle of the night one summer in between 6th and 7th grade. I was just getting back into drawing, and so what I would do is I would stay up until like 2 or 3 in the morning all night long just drawing and like watching cartoons or something. So on this particular night, I'm sitting in the living room. I have my entire drawing set up. I'm watching the Boondocks or something, and I'm drawing, just in my own little world. And everybody else is asleep. My brother had went to sleep about 2 or 3 hours before, and my entire rest of my family was asleep because they all had things to do the next day. So I'm up by myself. But I have all the lights on, so I'm not scared or anything. I'm just sitting there drawing in my own little world. And then I see a shadow at the end of the hallway walk from right to left. And on the left side of the hallway, there is a laundry room. And my mom and my dad like to do laundry like in the middle of the night. They'll set a load to wash, wake up in the middle of the night, and then put it in the dryer so that when they wake up, their clothes are ready to go. I don't know why they do that, but that's what they do. So when I saw this shadow walk by, I thought it was my mom getting up to change the clothes and put them in the dryer. So I got up to go check on her. I got up, I walked down this hallway, and as I'm getting towards the hallway, I'm noticing that there's no sounds. There's nobody walking, nobody breathing, no machinery, nothing. And so I walk and I get to the end of the hallway and it's like a T section. So I turn to the left and I look into the laundry room and it's completely dark. There's nobody there. I turn and I look to the right to where my parents' bedroom door is and I see this silhouette of a woman. She's standing right there in the front of the door. She's wearing a long, stereotypical white dress, and she's just staring at me. She's only there for about a matter of 2 seconds, and then she just fades into nothingness. And it freaked me the hell out, obviously. I immediately went, cleaned up all my drawing shit, and locked myself in my room with my brother, who was asleep, so he didn't even know. But it freaked me out because I was expecting to go down the end of the hallway, see my mom doing laundry, and then I turn and I see this fucking pale ghost staring at me and it just disappears. And when I started telling my family about it the next day, they didn't make it any better because my mom confessed to me that she sees things in the house all the time. She said that there was 2 spirits living in the house. One that was a child, which she would see all the time, and another one which she believed to be an older spirit that like looked after the house. And the child one really freaked me out because she said she used to confuse it for us. She said that there would be times where she would see somebody crawling and playing under the bed and she would think that it was me or one of my siblings, and she would go under to check and then she would just see this pale face in the way back in the corner of the fucking bed, and she would immediately know it's not one of us. And so she would just get up like she didn't see nothing and walk out of the room. And then she wouldn't see the child for the rest of the day. Sometimes when me and my family would all be playing, like in the living room or outside, she would notice things happening. She would see cups move. She could hear a child laughing that wasn't any of us. she can see something like in the corner of her eyes. But what really made it worse is when she said that she thought she saw a woman standing in the kitchen one night when she went to go get a glass of water or something. She says she walked into the kitchen and she thought she saw a woman standing there. And I don't know if she said it was in a white dress or not, but it really freaked me out because she also had a friend who claimed that she can talk to spirits. And when she came to visit the house, her friend told her that there was a spirit that watched over her. She said that her grandmother, my great grandmother, was watching over my mom. She said that she saw herself in her and that she was staying around my mom to make sure that she was in a safe space and that nothing bad happened to her. So I don't know if I accidentally ended up seeing my great grandmother, but I saw something that night and it stayed with me ever since. And the worst part is that house was only about a mile away from a local cemetery that was part of the reservation.
Lovely.
Isn't that just great?
Very.
But it gets worse because I've seen all kinds of like little experiences. Like at my current house, there was one night where I was coming back after dropping off my brother. Oh, sorry, I was dropping off my sister. She went to go spend the night at my grandmother's house. And as I was getting back to the house, I noticed that there was a car outside. And it was parked on the opposite side of the street in the wrong direction. And it was kind of pulled up onto the curb, touching the gravel. And I noticed it because the engine was running, the headlights were on, and all the doors were open. And the garage was open. So I figured that one of my brother's friends had come to pick him up and they were looking for him. But it still creeped me out because it was like 10:30 at night and there was nobody else around. It was dead quiet in the neighborhood. But there was this weird car just parked like right up on our fucking yard. All the doors were open. So I park my car, I get out, and I'm suspicious. I'm already going through like all the scenarios in my head and I'm like staring at this car. I'm just like looking, waiting for something to happen, waiting to see somebody, but nothing happens. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And I walk up into my garage and I walk over to the garage door button and I push it to close the garage door. But right as I'm pushing it and I turn my head away from the car and I look at the door in front of me, I I hear a voice behind me and a hot like whispery voice whispers into my ear and it says, "Get out." Soft but like loud. And immediately I turn around and there's nobody there. I walk to the edge of the garage and the car that was there previously was gone. I don't know what was up with the car. I don't know if it had any connection to it at all. But in my mind, I was expecting people around my house. I was expecting people there like looking for my brother or something, right? And so when I heard a voice behind me, I thought somebody had like pranked me and somebody had like jumped up and scared me. But when I turned around and I saw nothing, it just made it so much worse. And the fact that the car was gone just sent me into a spiral. So I run inside and my entire family's there. I go into the kitchen and my mom's staring at me, my brother's staring at me, and they're like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, I don't know what just happened. Somebody just talked to me. And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, somebody in the garage, somebody just whispered to me. And my mom just walks over to me and she puts her hand under my throat and she starts feeling my pulse and my heart is racing. It's pounding out of my chest. So my dad gets all worked up and me and him start checking the whole house because they're thinking I saw an intruder. We checked the whole perimeter. We checked the backyard, the front yard, everything. There's nobody there. We checked the cameras and the car was never on the cameras. And so I don't know what the fuck it was that I saw and I don't know what it was that spoke to me, but something was there that night and something did not want me in that house. And I couldn't sleep that night. I'd stay up all night, like watching funny videos or something to keep myself awake, but I couldn't bring myself to go to sleep.
I don't know what to say. That I freaked out. One more ghost story, and it's soon gonna be the fucking Moon Man podcast.
That's not even the worst one I have at that house.
You know, I don't even want to know the rest of them.
That's not even my worst one to begin with.
I don't even want to. We still have 57 minutes of this, and I don't want to continue.
Like I could go more into like my Skinwalker story since you didn't let me tell it the first time.
Yeah, and I still don't want to hear it.
So, my personal scariest story at this new house actually happened in high school, and I don't know if I ever told you about it, but I was up late one night, like always, on the phone with a friend. She was going through a bunch of different stuff, and so we were on the phone talking, and I was just kind of chit chatting with her. We had started calling like around maybe 8 o'clock, and by the time we were hanging out the call, it was around maybe 1 in the morning, and I know I was the only one awake. There was nobody else up. I wasn't going around checking the house or anything, but after I hung up the call, I went to the bathroom and I came back and nobody was up, there was no lights, nobody was talking, nothing. Everybody was asleep and the house was still, the house was silent. So I went to my room and the blinds were open and the moonlight was bleeding in. I was laying in my bed and it was positioned in the corner of the room facing the door. And the door was adjacent. It was, on the wall adjacent to the bed, way in the back corner. But I was laying there staring at my closet and just waiting for sleep to take me. And I'm laying there.
Wait, hold on. Why does it sound like you're reading it off of paper?
I don't know. I'm trying to like picture the scene here. Like I'm trying to remember the vague details and then like, you know.
Just
Okay.
You're looking into a sniper scope right now, right?
Yeah.
And you're aiming for your target. You're going around the anus. All right? Just take your shot. Just
Okay, so I'm laying there. It's middle of the night. I just got off the phone with my friend. Nobody's awake. The moonlight's bleeding into the room, and I'm staring at my closet. I'm waiting for sleep to take me. And for whatever reason, I start just like staring at the door. I don't know why, but the door gets my attention. And almost immediately after I look at the door, it starts to shake violently. And it's like a cheat.
Oh wait, I do remember that.
Did I tell you about that?
Yeah. You're sleeping on the second floor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that story.
Yeah, so I was just laying down and I started staring at the door, and almost immediately after I start staring at it, the door just starts shaking on its hinges. It's like for like 30 seconds. And I'm frozen. I can't move. I'm just staring at the door in like disbelief. Like I can't believe this is actually happening. And then it stops and the house goes completely quiet again. And I'm just sitting there staring at this door. And then for whatever reason, stupidly, I get up out of bed. I walk over to the door and I open it. I swing it open and I look out into the hallway and there's nobody there. And for whatever reason, I had some bravery in me. I just walk through the hallway and I'm looking through. My nerves are on high end and there's nobody there, nobody in the bathroom, nothing. And the funny thing is, the bathroom actually have sensor lights, right? So the lights turn on when you walk in. The lights were completely off in the bathroom. There's nobody there, nobody in the laundry room, nobody in the upstairs living room. And so I go back to my room. I lay down in my bed, and about an hour later, I fall asleep. And I completely forget about it until like 2 or 3 days later. When I start telling my family about it, none of them believe me, of course. They all think I'm imagining it. My mom gets freaked out. She starts yelling at me. She's telling me I'm bringing ghosts into the house. Um, and eventually, I started to tell this story so much, like at campfires and family gatherings, that my dad kind of got sick of it. And he said that he's the one that came and like knocked on my door and started banging it or whatever, right?
Yeah, I believe him.
But that's the thing. There was no footprints walking to the door, right? There was no sound of somebody walking to the door and grabbing the handle. There was no sound of any movement in the house. Everybody was asleep. My dad especially. He wakes up extremely early. He's not the type of person to be wandering around the house at night. So it makes no sense for him to go, "Oh yeah, it was me banging on your door." And especially after I immediately got up and went to the door and checked and there's nobody there. And the second floor of my house, it kind of creaks. So like you can't just like speed run back to the room and then close the door without making a single sound, because one, the floorboards are going to creak under the carpet. Two, I'm going to hear you opening and closing your bedroom door. And three, I'd hear you like running around the house. Like just plain simple. You'd hear somebody walking around the house. So I don't buy any of it. I don't believe it. I think he just started saying that so that I would stop believing in it and stop telling it, because I think in his heart he believes it. I think he probably had some experiences.
He's probably gonna listen to this and be like, "I fucking told you it was me."
I know if he ever hears this, that's exactly what he's gonna say. But like I said, I didn't hear anyone come to my door. Nobody crept up to my door and then started slamming it and then crept away. Like, I stared at my door. If there was any sounds coming from it, I would have heard it. It just started shaking on its hinges. And then I immediately got up, walked to the door, and there was nobody there. And the reason this sticks out to me as like the worst incident at this house was because like the get out whisper, like I could probably like ration off and like, oh, it wasn't that bad, or oh, I probably imagined it. The ghost story at the old house, like I could probably chalk it up to like being sleep deprived or maybe imagining things. But this one, I was full-fledged wide awake and I saw it and I remember it clearly. Like I can still picture the entire room. I can still feel the terror I felt when I saw the door shaking. And I have no choice but to believe that it was true and that something was there and something made its presence known. Now, I didn't call out to it, I didn't interact with it, but I saw it and I was aware of it. And it knows I saw it. The weird thing is, my sister, especially, is a light sleeper. She never heard the door shake. My brother never heard the door shake. Their rooms are right next to mine. Nobody else heard the door shake. I heard the door shake. I saw the door shake. But none of them believe me when I tell it. And that's okay. Like I said before, I don't need them to believe me. I know what I saw and I know what I experienced. But it's freaky. And the worst part about it, this is what really gets me. So now my little brother sleeps in that room. He sleeps in that room by himself. He's only about 10. He's 10 now. And he recently told my parents a couple months ago some experiences he's been having in the room that he wasn't brave enough to tell them before. So he said that every night when he went to sleep, he would hear whispers coming from his closet. He said that every night when he went to sleep, he was always scared to sleep in the room by himself because when he would fall asleep or as he was falling asleep, he could hear people in his closet whispering and talking to him, trying to get him to come to the closet, trying to get him to interact. And he said that he would have weird dreams where he saw people he didn't know. And it was shortly after that they got him like a white noise machine. And ever since he got that, he's been sleeping fine, and he has like LEDs in his room. But to me, it's too much of a coincidence that he started having all these weird paranormal experiences in the same room that I had my own weird paranormal experience. And it makes it worse because he hates ghosts, he hates scary stuff, he avoids it at all costs. He's the complete opposite of me. And he has these experiences.
You know how you told me that you wanted to move in together, you and I?
Yeah.
That's not happening anymore. I'd rather move in with fucking Alfred.
Alfred sees shit too.
Shit, that's true. I'd rather just live with my mom.
I think everybody sees stuff to an extent. Like we talked about previously, everybody has a story to some extent. Whether it was just a weird knock on the door or like you heard a whisper, like everybody's seen something. Not everybody has like crazy stories, and that's fine. You shouldn't want crazy stories because they stick with you and they change you. Whether it's just like seeing a cup move or seeing a full-fledged apparition. Apparition? Yeah, apparition. Seeing a full-fledged apparition, it all sticks with you. So everybody has stories, and I think everybody is susceptible to this kind of stuff. So you can't just like get out of it by like, oh, I'm gonna go with that guy. Because even people like who, let's say, are really religious, are really spiritual, and they believe in like God and Christ and everything, right? They're gonna see stuff too. It's probably less likely that they're going to see stuff, but from their perspective, when they do, it's like a trial. It's like the devil trying to take over them, the devil trying to like manifest itself in their lives. And so no matter who you choose, everybody's going to see something at least once in their lifetime. At least once. By the time your time comes and you eventually pass away, you're going to have seen something. So let's just hope that it's like a white spirit like yours who's there to comfort you when you're in a state of terror, and not something like mine.
There was this one time. Again, I was home alone. It was probably like a few months ago. Um, I own a piano, but I don't play. It's one of those pianos that you have to connect to the wall. And I was just on TikTok, and I put down my phone, and I get up, and then I hear a single guitar string coming from my closet. Just one string.
Just like a ding.
Yeah, like that, and it lasts for like 3 seconds. And I go out to the living room, and there's nothing. And when I come back, same thing, nothing. That's the last ghost story I have.
Well, what about that one that your Thea was telling us where she was outside, she had just gotten home from work?
Oh yeah, it's true. Um, so she lives with me and my mom, and um, she was telling me how it was one day I was at work, like early in the morning, and she didn't know I went to work, so she thought that I was still in the house, and so she went out to do her errands, and when she was coming back, as she was gonna open the door, one of our neighbors calls her to talk to her, and she heard like someone doing the dishes or like dishes clashing from outside. So she's like, "Oh, it's probably Eddie just doing the dishes or grabbing a cup." And she goes inside, and the house is empty. But again, this comes from the same lady who hears footsteps on the roof and doesn't think that it's maybe an animal.
Yeah, that's true, but like that's kind of freaky because all of your little stories, they're all like sound based, right?
Mm-hmm.
You heard a guitar strum, you heard some whistles, you heard some footsteps, you heard the wheelchair, right? So the fact that hers is sound based too kind of gives it more credibility. She
True.
heard something. She never saw something. You've never seen something. She's heard something.
Yeah.
Which is
Well, it's always been um just sounds. And when you say someone at least, everyone has at least experienced one thing. It's most likely just sounds.
I think for a lot of people,
It's by stages. Stage one sounds. Stage two, fucking I don't know. Stage three, people. Stage four, shadows. Stage five, so and so.
if we had to name it, I think stage one is probably sounds. Stage two is probably like objects moving
Or that, yeah,
or
that's true.
disappearing. Stage three is like maybe shadows in the corner of your eye, and then stage four is like seeing something, like full fledged. I saw something. So like yeah, I think there's different stages, but the fact that you guys all keep seeing like the same or hearing the same kind of like experiences is kind of, it gives credibility to the whole your house is haunted thing, or you guys are seeing something, which is freaky because it's not just you. You know, your mom saw it, your tia saw it, and it's fucking like one of my friends. I was recently at his house, and again we were trading ghost stories as one does on a Saturday night. And he was telling me he's one of those people too who likes to avoid this stuff at all costs. And all power to you guys. I'm not gonna knock it. But eventually he got warmed up enough that he started telling me a little bit about his house and the fact that he sees things in his house. He had a family member who was living there who unfortunately passed away in the house. And before the family member passed and after the family member passed, they had been seeing things. The main thing that they saw was a little girl spirit, a little apparition, right? And it wasn't anything particularly terrifying. It's not like she was climbing the walls and threatening people or anything. They just saw this like little girl, you know, on the corner of their eyes, running around, stuff like that. And he was telling me about it. And then he said that one of our mutual friends who had been visiting the house actually had his own story with the little girl. And he actually listens to the show, so he probably knows who he is. Shout out to you. He had went back into the house after a hangout, middle of the night. They were all leaving, and he needed to use the bathroom. So he went in through their back entrance, and he went to go use the bathroom. And he said that in the reflection in the mirror, he could see a little girl standing behind him in the bathroom watching him use it, which is kind of perverted. I'm not even going to lie. But it also corroborates what his friend was saying because he didn't know about the ghost beforehand. He didn't know about the little girl. My friend doesn't like to openly speak about it. He doesn't like to talk about it. So most people will go to that house 10, 15, 20 times without ever knowing that there's a spirit there. And so when he came out, he was like freaked out and they're like, what's going on? He's like, I just saw a little girl standing behind me in the bathroom. And it was after he had told my friend that he was like, oh, you've seen her. And then he started to tell them that they have a little girl living at the house who like a spirit who lives there and they see him all the time. And the freaky part about it is that when I was there and he was telling me this, it was the middle of the night. It was, well, not the middle of the night. It was like 11. And as he was telling me this, I kept feeling this weird presence in the house. Like I know that sounds out there. I know I sound like a fucking hippie or whatever, but I just felt something off. I didn't feel right. And I kept looking over my shoulder and I kept looking towards like their kitchen area. I just felt like something was there, something was standing there, something was moving, right? And he kept looking over there too, and he's like, what is it? And I was like, nothing, I just thought I saw something. And we just go on talking. Now, I never saw this girl. I never saw a shadow or anything, but I just felt this weird presence the entire time. Like, as we were talking about her, she felt comfortable enough to come and, like, show herself to an extent. And at one point, me and my little group of friends, we all got up and we start investigating the house. And of course, there's nothing there. We didn't see anything. We didn't see any reflections or nothing. But after we stopped talking about it and we're like addressing it, the feeling disappeared and we all agreed that like the atmosphere changed. Like it's a lot softer now. There's no tension in the air or whatever. But I believe wholeheartedly that there's something at his house. Because as we were talking about it, like I could just feel her there. Like almost like she was behind the counter, like looking at us or something. If only I had seen her, but I didn't.
Good.
I know. That way I might be able to sleep tonight. I won't have to envision this little girl staring at me from behind the counter. But it's nuts. Like it's just weird how often it happens and like where it does. Like all the places we consider to be safe, like our bedroom. These are all the places that these spirits seem to target.
You know, hold on. Why haven't there been dinosaur ghosts?
I don't know.
And I think I feel like I just answered my own question. And I feel like it's because animals don't have souls.
That's fucked up.
It's true, they don't have souls.
I mean, not conclusively, but who's to say that we have souls to begin with?
We have souls.
We like to think we have souls because we have some sort of conscience and we're able to like.
Just that alone, us having conscience, the fact that we have a voice in our head telling us what to do or how to just doing anything proves that we have a soul.
Yeah, but
what do dogs have? Bark?
We don't know if dogs have voices in their heads. We have no fucking clue, and there's no way for us to ever know if dogs have voices in their heads or if any animals have souls to begin with. It's just like it's too out of our comprehension to even debate that. I think we can just conclusively say that like if the dinosaurs existed, we're obviously not seeing their ghosts. So
wait, why are you saying if?
I don't know.
The dinosaurs fucking existed.
Yeah.
We're using their bones for fuel.
Yeah. I don't know why we're not seeing their ghosts. It's kind of weird when you put it like that.
They probably expire after a certain amount of time.
I'm sure all ghosts expire to an extent. Like, I know we mentioned La Llorona and, like, the fact that her story's been going on for, like, 600 years. But if it's anything like the whole Peter Pan, Tinkerbell thing, it's, like, the power of belief. And that kind of ties into the whole, it's as scary as you make it. You know, if you completely disregard it and you go on living your life like nothing happens, to an extent. Like if you're in a real haunting, get help. But like just normal everyday scares.
That goes for anything.
Yeah, I think it's the power of belief. The more you believe in it, the more true it becomes. Mm-hmm. And that's like the whole manifestation thing. So I don't. I think all ghosts, to an extent, have like a lifeline. And if we believe in a certain type of ghost, like Bloody Mary, it's gonna exist.
You know, this doesn't regard to any ghost stories. I heard yesterday. Yes, it's from TikTok.
Okay.
No, it's from a podcast actually.
Oh. Are you sure you want to say it?
No, I don't know. I forgot the podcast name.
It's like copyright infringement.
No, whatever.
Okay,
I forgot the podcast name. But basically they're saying 1,000 years in heaven is one day here on earth.
What do you mean?
So apparently, I don't know if it's in the Bible, but apparently, like, let's say you have a friend who died, like, yesterday.
Yeah.
For them, it's been 1,000 years, but for us, it's been like a day here.
No, it doesn't say that in the Bible. In fact, real quick side tangent here to lighten the mood a little bit before we get into some of the more darker stuff. In the Bible, it says that when we die, we go into hell. And hell is actually like a waiting room. It's like purgatory, right? And we sit there collectively as a species until Judgment Day, where we'll all be decided where to go.
What Bible are you reading?
The Christian Standard Bible.
That doesn't say it.
That's in the Bible. It's just it's been manipulated over time. Like it says hell is more of like a waiting room, but people got this misconception that hell is like a fiery pit of death or whatever, right? But it's not. I forgot the exact, because I was doing research on it, but I forgot the exact like where the translation issue comes up. But hell is a waiting room. So when we die, we literally all go to hell, and we're in this waiting room in purgatory waiting for Judgment Day. Right? Because you're not going to be chilling in heaven. You have to wait for Judgment Day. No, and Judgment Day is
you got it all wrong.
No, it literally says it in the Bible.
What verse?
Do you want me to really pull up the verses right now? I don't have the verses at the top of my head.
No, it doesn't say that.
It does.
It doesn't say that. Every Christian has said, yeah, there's Judgment Day, but that's for the people who are living.
No, I'm not bullshitting here. That's the actual like truth, and that a lot of people get a lot of misconceptions about the Bible. Like the word apocalypse, right? It actually means like a revelation. It means like you realize something. But people hear the word apocalypse and they're like, oh, it's the end of the world. It's Armageddon. It's this, it's that. And so there's so many mistranslations of the Bible that people have turned it into this whole other thing. And that's why you'll hear every Christian say, just read the Bible and decide for yourself. Regardless of what category of belief you fall into, you read it and then that's where you get the true facts. But like angels, right? When you think of angels, what do you picture?
I can't picture anything. I can't comprehend them.
Oh, so did I explain angels to you already?
No, I already knew.
So yeah, well, for those of you that don't know, angels are not the little baby creatures with wings on their back, you know, playing harps and eating grapes or whatever. Angels are a lot more terrifying in the Bible. They're these incomprehensible creatures that would floor you if you saw them. You wouldn't even be able to understand what you're seeing. You can look it up. Look up biblical angels and you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. They're these like 8-9 winged creatures with eyeballs all over them. They're like giant spinning wheels. Like everything you think you know about the Bible is probably some sort of misunderstanding that you've heard from like Catholic preachings or retaught Christian preachings that people, you know, force down your throats. And so there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to the Bible. And you just have to really read it and read it again and again to like really understand it. And then do like studies on it. But that's a whole different subject. That's a little respite for you guys there. So I kind of want to get into the time that I saw a demon in my back seat.
Well, I kind of remember that. Isn't that when we watched what movie did we watch?
If I remember correctly, it was Annabelle Creation.
I've never seen that movie.
I didn't watch it with you.
No, I was it with. I feel like So this is how I remember it.
Okay.
We went to go see a movie. You dropped me off. You're driving home, and then halfway through your drive, you call me, and then you tell me about that.
No, so I went to go see this movie. I went to go see. It was either Annabelle Creation or some other scary movie. I went to go see it with an old girlfriend of mine at the time. And we watched the movie, it freaked us out. I went and I dropped her off, right? And I had already completely forgot about the movie. The movie was scary, but it wasn't anything that I wasn't already used to from, years of scary movies and scary videos. But what really freaked me out was that as I was driving home, like I stated before, my house is like in the middle of the desert. It's like on a part of the reservation. So I'm getting further and further out into the sticks. There's less and less businesses, less and less civilization, and eventually it's just a long dirt road, essentially. So I'm getting farther and farther out there, and I drive past this specific like mountain range, right? It's a small little mountain that the road cuts through. So as I'm driving through this mountain range, I just happen to notice that the entire street is empty in front of me and behind me. I look up into my rear view to confirm this, and as I look up into my rear view, I see a shadow sitting in the middle of my back seat. This dark silhouette shadow, and it had like yellow glowing eyes almost. And immediately I start freaking out. I start panicking. I look down and I look back up, and it's gone. But the feeling of terror still lingered because, like with all the other spirits that I've seen, it made its presence known. And it made it known in a place where I thought I was safe and secure. I'm in a private space, I'm in my car, I'm driving, I'm actively doing something. I never thought that I could look up and see something, right? It's not like I had a possessed doll in the back of my car. But it freaked me out. And immediately I call Eddie here and I start explaining the situation to him. And did you believe me when I told you?
No, I was playing 2K.
So
I think I just tuned you out.
You were just kind of comforting me, but
yeah.
you weren't. Yeah. So I immediately call Eddie, but of course Eddie didn't believe me, and I it's hard to believe, and I try to rationalize it in the back of my head. I was like, well, it looks similar to the demon that they show in the movie, so I probably just manifested an image of it or whatever, right? But it really just stuck with me because it felt different. It didn't feel like I saw some distant vision like implanted into my rearview mirror. It felt like I saw a creature sitting in the back of my seat. And I didn't feel safe in that car. And it was around, I think, 6 or 7 months later, I ended up getting into a car accident in that car. I was driving home from work on that same exact road, almost half a mile down from where I supposedly saw the creature, and I get into a car accident. And it wasn't anything serious, nobody got hurt. But it wasn't until months later that I put the two incidents together, and it really just stuck out to me. It was like something told me that I wasn't safe in that car. I wasn't safe on that stretch of the road. 6, 7 months later, I get into a car accident, and it just, all the pieces to me fit together too well, and it just freaked me out. And to this day, when I drive down that road, I still get flashbacks, and I still, sometimes I'll be driving at night and I'm scared that I'm going to look up and see something.
I heard a theory once about scary movies and all that. So you know how you said it in, I forgot what episode it was. You said we have to stop making demon movies.
Yeah.
So I heard a theory that the people in Hollywood, quote unquote, the Illuminati, whatever.
Yeah.
They do it on purpose so people could actually attract demons and ghosts and all that.
That's actually good theory. That's a creepy theory, because let's just say it is the Illuminati, or there's a bunch of Satanists or the occult living there, working there, right? And they're trying to push this like agenda. That would be a perfect way to subconsciously influence the minds of millions of people on an almost daily basis. Because you can make a movie and it'll release, right? Mm-hmm. And then it comes out on DVD.
And apparently it's working, because look at you.
It comes out on streaming services. Like, if that's the case, it really works, because it's that whole manifestation thing. You're bringing it into your life. You're obsessing over it. You're thinking you're going to see it. And then 99.9% of the time you don't, but then that 0.1% you do, it like changes you as a person. It sticks with you. To this day, I still have trauma driving down that road at night. To this day, I still get freaked out.
You know, I still don't like that you're wearing jeans.
Why? What is it?
I don't know. I was just looking down at your legs, and I'd never see you in jeans.
I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna tangent here. Okay. That supposed demon story, it really kind of haunts me, because I know several other people who have occurrences with demons. And I actually, the weird thing is, I don't know any of them personally. They're like friends of friends, right? So one of my friends, his dad was in the military, and he happened to tell me this story at night at his house, because he's an asshole. And he told me that his dad, during boot camp, would wake up every night for a period of weeks or months, and he would see a demon, or what he claimed to be the devil, standing in the corner of his room staring at him. And if I remember correctly, he said that it would stand in the corner of his room, like at the foot of his bed, staring at him as he slept, and it would like whisper things to him. And it would happen every single night. And I believe this friend of ours actually listens to the show, so shout out to you if you're actually listening. I miss you, bud. Anyways, that's fucking terrifying to me. Like, I couldn't even imagine.
But I could be substituting a memory with that, or I could be confusing friends. But then that same dad play with like Ouija boards and stuff like that.
I don't know if he did. I'm pretty sure we're talking about the same person.
We are, but I don't know if I'm confusing him with a different dad.
Maybe. I don't know if he ever did play with Ouija boards. I don't remember him ever telling me that, but at the same time I do. So maybe he did play with Ouija boards at one point. And if you do that, you're like actively inviting spirits into your life. Just do not mess with that stuff. I don't care.
That's another. You know how I just told you the theory about scary movies. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure they do it with kids, because you could buy that. It's in the kids section. It's in the toy section.
Yeah, I think Hasbro sells them.
Yeah, so that's another marketing tactic.
It could be, if that's actually the case, and there's some like hidden agenda going on. Just like avoid it. Like, most people are wise enough to be like, no, I'm not gonna fuck with that. But if you don't have any experiences with Ouija boards, or maybe you don't know the lore behind them, just don't even do it. Just avoid them, because what Ouija boards essentially do is they act as a conduit between our world and the spirit world. And the freaky thing is, there's a lot of things that could act as a conduit, and I'm not going to go into it here. But a Ouija board just happens to be set up in a way that it attracts spirits, and it gives them like an outlet to like interact with the human world, right? And by doing that, you invite the spirit into your life. Whether you do like a video game version, which they have online, don't look it up, don't play it, or you're doing a real life version, or even like some homemade version, you're creating an outlet for these spirits to reach you and for these spirits to talk to you.
Like Stranger Things.
Essentially, yeah, the Christmas lights thing, yeah. That's exactly what you're doing. Now, it's not your son communicating with you trying to get back home. It's an evil spirit that's trying to use you to power itself. It's trying to take over your body. It's trying to use your fear, whatever it is. I don't know what their goal is.
That's what they say about Halloween. That's why a lot of people don't celebrate Halloween.
Halloween is a very misunderstood holiday. We're not going to get into the lore of it.
It's because you're biased. But
no, I'm not biased. I've done research. Haven't you seen that one movie? What the hell is it called?
No.
It's where the kid turns into a ghost and he's like chasing a pumpkin, and then his friends go and hunt him down.
No.
And they go through all the different...
What stupid ass movie is that?
It's like a cartoon, like Halloween movie. I forgot the name of it. But this kid turns into a ghost and he's chasing a pumpkin or whatever, right? He's holding onto this pumpkin and his friends go into like all these different spirit worlds to try and like get him back and save him. And essentially they go through like a lot of the lore of Halloween. Like witches, you know, a Halloween staple were misunderstood doctors back in the day. And because they were using different medicinal routines that people haven't heard of, they were labeled as like witches, and they were labeled as using black magic because they were using herbs and like science to help cure stuff instead of just praying to God and throwing holy water on people. And Halloween itself is very similar to that. It's a misunderstood holiday, and it's evolved into something so much more. And unfortunately, because it's evolved to what it is, it kind of acts as a gateway in and of itself to like bring evil into the world.
That's what I'm saying.
But like we've said, like I've said countless times, it's all what you make of it. If you're just in it to, you know, dress up, get a little spooked out, watch some scary movies and eat candy, that's all it's going to be. But if you feed into it, you give it more power, you actively like go out of your way to do certain things like ghost hunting, you know, it's going to affect you differently. Things are going to happen and it's not going to be the same kind of Halloween that you're used to.
You know, that same Halloween spirit is gone. Just like that Christmas, that for me, that Halloween spirit's gone. That Christmas spirit is gone. The Thanksgiving spirit, the Flag Day spirit is gone.
Flag Day.
I know, but
what's Flag Day?
It's in the name, Flag Day.
But what is it?
It's Day for Flags. Oh.
I think a lot of that just has to do with like growing up in your mental state.
But there's still a lot of people, even in their fucking 60s, who love Halloween and love Thanksgiving and love Christmas. They still have that spirit, and then never left them.
I still have the spirit.
That's what I'm saying. So it's either I don't know. I don't know.
You just gotta have a healthy relationship with any of it. Like everything in life, like with everything in life, you have to have a balance. You can't indulge too much. You can't believe too much. You gotta like keep the balance. If you get too spooky, bring some lightness into it. If it's a little too light, you know, you don't have to bring spooky, but like there's got to be a balance to things. You know, you can't just be all full force, one-sided on everything because that's not how it works. The universe balances itself out in multiple different ways. Should be. As all things should be. It balances itself out. Don't bring that in here.
2019.
And like with Halloween and with like this episode, as I stated, it's just what you believe and how much power you give it. Just don't give it any power and see it as just a couple ghost stories from a couple guys who don't really know shit about anything. And you'll be fine. Don't feed too much into it. But at the same time, let me tell you a really fucked up story. So, this story comes from my friend Kyle. I'm actually going to give him a shout out. This story comes from my friend Kyle.
That's not even his name.
And it's the nickname we gave him, so now it's his name. This story comes from his sister, but it was told to me through Kyle. So, his sister, I believe, is in the military services. I don't know what branch she's in. But she was located at Texas at one point. And she said that when she was driving down, all of this came about because me and him were theorizing about demons and spirits and how they get you to act in ways you normally wouldn't to put yourself in jeopardy. And so with this story, this is an example of that. She was at a crossway. She was at like a intersection in the back streets of Texas, middle of the night. I don't know where she was coming from. I don't know where she was going, but she was in a intersection and she's stopped at a red light. And she's sitting at this red light for about 3 or 4 minutes and she's just waiting. The red light's there and she's just waiting. There's no other cars in sight. She's looking around. There's nothing there, right? And then all of a sudden she sees something in her side view mirror. And she like looks and she sees this like little shadow this like little demon creature running towards the car. It's like maybe 3-4 feet tall. Its body is all morphed and it's moving weird, and it's running towards the car and making all these weird noises. It's running, and right before it gets to the car, she floors it on the gas. She floors it on the gas, and she just speeds through the intersection. And right as she does, a truck comes barreling through the other side of the intersection and nearly misses her. She scoots over and fucking pulls over to the side of the road. She gets out and she runs over to the intersection, and the guy in the truck gets out and he comes out and he starts yelling at her. He's like, "Didn't you see me coming? Didn't you see me fucking coming? I was coming. Why did you go? Like, you could have killed me. I could have killed you." And then she's like, I saw something. Something was chasing me. Something was coming to my car. He's like, What are you talking about? And they stop and they start looking around in this deserted lot. And there's no sign of the creature, nothing. Whatever she saw just completely disappeared. And that's an example of how these forces will go out of their way to put you in danger in scenarios that you otherwise wouldn't even think of. She was sitting at a red light. To her, it was just a normal night. This random creature comes barreling towards her car and she rams the gas, nearly gets into a car accident. These things will go out of their way to hurt you. If anything, this isn't even a scary story podcast anymore. This is like a warning. This is like a broadcast announcement to be on high alert at all times. It doesn't even have to be spooky season, because this, as far as I know, happened in the middle of summer. They'll come at any point in time, and you always have to have your guard up. You always have to be ready. All right, are you ready? I've been saving this story for the last one. So, like, this is kind of the conclusion here. We kind of touched on almost everything that I wanted to touch on. Of course, there's a lot of other stuff, but, like, we don't want to be here all night. It's like, what? 1:44 in the morning right now, so we're getting pretty close to the witching hour. We gotta wrap this shit up.
And you wanted to do it at fucking 3 a.m.
I did want to do it
with candles on. If that was the case, that you would have done it by yourself.
I would not have done that by myself. Fuck that. I would need somebody there.
No, fuck that. I wasn't gonna be there.
That's too much even for me.
Nope, I wasn't gonna do it.
Witching hour with candles? Fuck that. Telling ghost stories? Hell no.
That's not. Nope.
That's how you get haunted.
I barely wanted to be here. I was getting too freaked out at the beginning, but now I'm just chilling.
Yeah, well, now I'm starting to get a little freaked out. It's okay. The roles are switched. So, this final story comes again from our friend Alfred. The myth, the legend himself.
You fucking butchered that.
How does it go?
The
man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, the man, the myth, the legend.
This guy has seen a lot of stuff, and he so graciously donated his stories to the podcast. Eventually, we're going to have him on one of these days, and he can elaborate a little bit more for any of you who are interested. Briefly, because we don't want to freak Eddie out. But this is his sleep paralysis story. Me and him were doing some research on sleep paralysis one night while we were pulling an all-nighter. And this motherfucker decided to drop this bombshell on me, and it's kind of stayed with me ever since. I morphed it in my head, but he recently retold it to me, and it's still just as terrifying. So, I'm going to share it all with you today. So, to lay some context, Alfred has suffered with sleep paralysis for, I think, most of his life. It got to a point where he developed his own system to wake himself up. He was so used to the feeling he wouldn't even get scared. You know, sometimes he would hear voices, sometimes he would see little shadows in the distance, but nothing was ever like too terrifying. And normally he would just kind of wait it out. But when he would get tired of it, he would do this trick to like wake himself up. I don't know the trick. It's just like something internally, I guess. And it's safe to say that he was pretty comfortable with sleep paralysis at this point. Now, when this story takes place, he was in high school. And we were already friends at the time. And so when he told me this, it was a few months fresh, which made it even worse. It made it even worse because I was getting to that point at that all-nighter where you're like about to nod off. But now, after he told me, I was terrified because I didn't want to see what he saw. So Alfred's house was a little weird. He had a weird setup. So he shared a room with his brother. And for whatever reason, they took off the door to their room. So Alfred didn't have a door leading into his room. And he had a bathroom adjacent to the room. It was like a master bedroom that him and his brother took over. Because he only lived with his brother and his sister, and his sister didn't really care if he had the master bedroom. So he was in the master bedroom, and his bed was positioned adjacent to the bathroom door, but right directly in front of his doorway. And his doorway was at the end of a long hall. So when you're laying down in his bed, you can see down into this long hall. And every night when he would go to sleep, when he would have sleep paralysis, he'd wake up and he'd be staring at his room, and he'd kind of be there for 20, 30 minutes, and then he would wake himself up or make himself go to bed or whatever, right? But for whatever reason on this night, when he woke up, he said that he could see down the length of the hall, and they had the kitchen or hallway light on. There was a light source coming in the middle of the hallway, right? But the rest of it was dark. So he was staring down into this hall, and he said that he hated looking down into the hall because he was scared that he was going to see some of the ghost children that he always saw, or maybe some of the regular ghosts that he was kind of used to at his house. When he woke up this night, he stared down into the length of the hall, and he said he saw a person standing there. One of these shadow people. He was wearing like a top hat, and I think he was wearing a trench coat.
Top hat? What's a top hat?
Like an Abraham Lincoln hat.
Oh, a magician's hat.
Essentially. It was just this tall, menacing shadow standing at the end of the hall, right?
It was probably Abe Lincoln.
Maybe. But if Abe Lincoln came to visit me in the middle of a sleep paralysis dream, I'd be pretty pissed off.
Why?
Because it's fucking terrifying.
He's a goat president.
So, he wakes up, and he's staring down the length of his hall. And he can see this tall, shadowy creature, this tall, shadowy man standing at the end of the hall, right? And he said that the shadow started walking towards his room. And it was walking at, a relatively normal pace. And he was just frozen, standing there. And he had never seen anything like this. And so he's like, fuck, fuck, fuck. And immediately he starts trying his trick to wake himself up. And the trick's not working. He keeps doing it over and over and over again, but it's not working. And the whole while he's doing this, the shadow is getting closer and closer and closer to his room. And eventually, Alfred looks down the length of the hall, and he can see that the shadow is now standing in his doorway. And it was a complete full shadow, so much so that he could no longer see the light. It was standing in his doorway, obscuring the light and obscuring the view into the hall. And it just stared at him for like 5 minutes. And then it walked into his room. His brother was still asleep on the other bed. Alfred could kind of see him in the corner of his eye. But the shadow stepped into his room and then walked over to his bed and then stared down at him. And it just looked at him. And he was there frozen. He couldn't move. And he's staring up at this creature. And it didn't say anything. It didn't do nothing. It just stared at him for like a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. He doesn't even know. It's staring and it's staring and it's not moving. And then it looks up, it turns around, and it walks to the bathroom. And when it walks into the bathroom, it just disappears. Alfred immediately woke up. And this is where the crazy part comes in. Aside from the fact that his bedroom didn't have a door, he closed every other door in the house. He couldn't sleep with any doors open. He closed the bedroom door, he closed the bathroom door, he closed everything, right? He said that the shadow person walked into the room, walked over to his bathroom, adjacent to him, right to his right, opened the bathroom door and walked in, disappeared. When Alfred woke up, he turned over and looked to his right, and the bathroom door was open. And at first, he was like, okay, well, maybe my brother went up and went to the bathroom when I was asleep or whatever, right? But he couldn't get over the feeling that something was in the bathroom. He just kind of stood up and stared into the darkness of the bathroom and looked at the moonlight bleeding into the bathroom, and he was just frozen. And then I was like, well, what'd you do? And he's like, well, I just kind of went back to sleep. I was like, how the hell do you go back to sleep after that? He's like, I don't know, I just did.
I would too.
I mean, of course, what else could you do? But that's kind of terrifying. It reminds me of one of my other childhood friends and the fact that him and his family all saw a very similar shadow person.
Wait, hold on. You said we're doing conclusion. That was the conclusion. That's the end.
No, this is a little.
That was it for the Moonman podcast.
No, wait. This is just a little side. It's a little add-on.
I'm telling you.
It's really quick.
I'm telling you now. This is the only episode that I'm not gonna listen to.
That's okay. And you don't need to listen to this one. But for everyone else out there, I'm sorry that this episode is releasing so late in the night. But I hope you guys
releasing so late in the night.
Yeah, remember we talked. It's gonna release at 8.
What?
Yeah, didn't we talk about that?
No.
Was that a dream? I had a dream where I was talking to you about a bunch of different stuff.
No, we didn't talk about that.
Weird. Well, anyways, it reminds me of another childhood friend of mine. And him and his family all saw a shadow person that was very similar to the one that Alfred described. And if you do any sort of research on shadow people, you'll find that there's like 3 very common ones. And the one that a lot of people end up seeing is this top hat man. Right? He like wears a trench coat and he has like a fedora or like a top hat on. Like just some sort of garment on, right? And my childhood friend said that this like shadow man used to stalk him and his family wherever they went. And they would be at a friend's house, like at a party, and they would look outside, and across the street under a street lamp, there would be this like shadow person standing under the street lamp looking at all of them. And it was ominous because like whether they were in a social setting all together or whether they were by themselves, each one of the family members saw this. Him, his brothers, and his mom. His dad wasn't really in the picture, but I'm sure his dad saw this thing too. At one point, he said he traveled to Mexico to see some family, and he was spending the night there, and he hated spending the night there because whenever they traveled, he would always see this shadow person stalking them. If they were at a bus station, he would see it among the crowd. If he was spending the night at his family's house, he would look out into the window and see it across the street. It liked to keep its distance, but it always made itself known. But the worst encounter was the night that he woke up and saw it staring at his mom. So, my friend lived in a trailer park, and he lived inside of a trailer. Him, his brother, and his mom all shared this trailer. He had another brother, but that brother was always in and out of the picture. He was never really around. So my friend would sleep on one end of the trailer where there was a bed, and his mom would sleep on the other end of the trailer where there was another bed, and his brother would sleep on the floor. Now, he said that he woke up one night and he happened to look over to his mom. For whatever reason, he doesn't know why he woke up and he doesn't know what called him to look over. But he looked over at his mom, and at her window, where her bed was, on the opposite side of the trailer, he could see the silhouette of the shadow man standing, staring at his mom as she slept, staring at the whole family as they slept. And he couldn't even move. He was so paralyzed with fear. But the worst part was when he revealed to me that the window was cracked open because his mom liked to sleep with the window open to let the breeze help cool her down while she slept. So the only thing separating her from whatever this thing was a piece of glass that was half open. And he said shortly afterwards he fell back asleep without even realizing it. And the next morning everybody was fine. But he had to live with the knowledge that that thing was probably out there every single night, stalking them, looking at them, watching them as they slept. And the worst part is he doesn't really know if it was a shadow person or if it was a real person. Sometimes he said that he wondered if it was really somebody outside just staring at him and his family as he slept, watching them as they went to all these different parties, like a real life stalker.
When did you become a narrator?
A very long time ago in a distant life.
No, it was like 5 minutes ago. Because an hour ago you did not talk like this.
You have to really ramp it up for the last ones. If I did this the entire episode, you would not have made it this far.
What? That?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
And I don't think.
I would. And once you started doing that, I would have just clicked off.
You would have just left.
I would have left. Fuck this! It's too boring.
No, you would have just been like getting into it, and then you would have been like, "Fuck this! I don't want to picture this." Fucking Devin, and you would have left.
I don't know why, but I didn't picture anything. Like I was listening to the story, but I didn't picture anything.
Good. You don't want to picture that, especially when you're going to sleep. Because what if you wake up?
You know,
look at your window and you see that shadow man staring at you as you sleep.
Cool. I'll just think about the different scenarios I play in my mind.
Do that. Think about your butterflies.
No, I don't know why, but whenever I go to sleep, I for some reason always think about what would I do if I was the last person on Earth.
I think that too sometimes. It reminds me of that Twilight Zone episode.
And then if not, I'll think about all my friends and I being the last people on Earth. And what would we do? And then I'll give everyone powers. And then I just do a whole story in my mind. I still haven't gotten to the end, and I don't know what the problem is. All I know is that there's 8 of us. All have powers. For some reason, I gave myself the OP power of having every power known to man.
That is pretty OP.
And that's all I know. That's all I know. Who knows if it's ever going to be a story?
I say you turn it into a story.
I don't want to. It's too complex.
Well, anyways, I'd like to thank all of you guys for reaching this point of the episode. We're about to hit 2 hours exactly, so
Should we count down?
No. If you made it this far, congratulations, you're one of the brave few. I hope you all have a great rest of your night, and I hope you all have a very safe Halloween. But before you go to bed tonight, make sure to check the windows and check under your bed because you don't want to see a shadow person standing.
Okay, hold on. Don't take this episode too serious. It's just another episode.
It's just another episode.
You could tell that Dylan's trying to change his voice, but come on.
I'm not trying.
We're just you're like.
That's just me talking low.
No, you're changing your voice.
I wasn't changing my voice.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Stay safe out there.